Well, the Nationals have declared they'll oppose an Indigenous voice to Parliament, arguing the advisory body won't close the gap. The announcement is a blow to the Albanese government's aim to enshrine a voice in the Constitution through a referendum. The Nationals leader, David Littleproud, says more needs to be done to empower remote Indigenous communities.
While we respect the government in trying to shift the dial and closing the gap, what we're saying is we can't get comfort for that for regional, rural and remote Australians, and for that reason we don't want to support a principle on a principle basis, but also a mechanism that won't do that, won't achieve empowerment of Indigenous communities at a local level.
Joining me live now is from the Heart Director Dean Parkin. Dean, great to see you. Was this disappointing to see yesterday from your perspective?
Well, it was certainly an odd decision that came out from the Nationals yesterday, Laura. The timing of it was odd, and the idea that the National Party could come out and say that they're not going to support something that hasn't been even put in front of them as a proposal yet, I think absolutely was jumping the gun, getting out in front, and I just found the whole exercise a little bit strange and I'm not really sure what's driving it. I think there's more to this than this idea that the detail's not there. The government has said that there will be more detail on the voice provided before the referendum sometime next year. So it was just a very strange outing by the Nationals altogether.
Yeah, you're right. Just to knock this thing on the head, not even want to try and fix some of the wording or the proposal before this is even put to a referendum. You say it's strange. What do you think is behind it? Is there something we're missing here? Is this political leverage? Is this part of the culture wars?
Oh, I'd hope not. It's something as deep as that. I think there are definitely politics at play here. I think. We've got a really different parliamentary situation at the moment where the major parties have been challenged by independents across the board, and I think some of the parties are making calculations on what they need to do to win as much support as possible, and that's the really disappointing thing about this. Indigenous constitutional recognition through a voice to Parliament has always been about taking it above the politics, taking it above the partisanship that the Parliament sees and that Australians, quite frankly, are sick of. And so I think the announcement yesterday sort of plays back into that old partisan style politics that the last couple of elections that we've seen both in at the federal level and at the state level, and I think we'll continue to see, Australians have had an absolute gutful of that kind of politicking around these really important issues. And I think in some ways that's where the decision came through yesterday.
Yeah, we know how difficult referenda are to get up. If there is one united voice from Canberra and politicians all on board, it doesn't mean it's a fait accompli, but it certainly does help. So with this breakaway, does it make your job a lot harder, or you can still see this happening?
So I'd say a couple of things. Firstly, our focus has always been on the conversation with the Australian people. The original invitation from the Uluru Statement was not to the politicians for a very good reason, and for the reasons that were played out yesterday. It was to the people of Australia who absolutely see this as a fair thing to do and something that actually is a practical change and are ready for a moment to bring the country together. So we'll continue to do that. Secondly, I'm not drawing a line yet through the Nationals. I think this is an erroneous decision, a very strange decision.
So you reckon you can bring them back to the table,
There's more water to flow
Dean?
under the bridge.
You're very convincing in interviews, I don't put it past you.
I think we need to just take a breath and go, let's look at what the proposal actually is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we elect politicians to do. We elect them to consider actual proposals, right? We expect them to actually do the work and consider the proposals and consider them on their merits. The Nationals haven't done that. They've just gotten way out in front. There is no proposal on the table for them to not support. So I just think let's give them the opportunity, and we'll continue to work across the board to bring those different parties on board. But as I say, our focus has and always will be with the people of Australia. Yep,
absolutely. And you can certainly speak well beyond Canberra, and often that sometimes works better. One last question, Dean. At the very least, do you think this pushes the timeline back?
I mean, obviously, that will somewhat be a decision for the government to determine the timing of the referendum itself. It doesn't actually change our plans. We will continue, as I say, to push as hard as we possibly can to bring about a successful referendum on a voice as soon as practically possible. The numbers that show considerable long-term sustained goodwill in the Australian population towards the referendum on a voice is still there. We want to continue to build on that, and I think that's, as I say, that's where our focus is going to be over the next little while. And you know, we'll take this in our stride as you do, and we'll continue to work with, and we will continue to have conversations with members of the National Party, some of which we know don't agree with this decision, and are actually there supporting quietly inside the party.
Oh, okay. Were they standing there yesterday, the ones that don't support this decision?
I didn't see the full image, Laura. I didn't have a look at the pictures that were there, but we do know that there are really decent people inside the National Party room. We've had conversations over a number of years with them, and you know, that's just natural, and we'll continue to have those conversations with them.
Okay, Dean Parkin, a pleasure to talk to you as always. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Laura.